Alright guys, the brand new Gladiator Beast. Let's do a quick little deck profile as well as go over some of the new cards and kind of the ins and outs of this deck, as it's something that I kind of want to go ahead and talk about. Now, just keep in mind, it does not play like traditional Gladiator Beast, and I'll go over the effects and talk about a little bit more in a moment, but I want to start off the video by not only showing you guys the deck profile real quick, and I'll go more in depth here, but I really wanted to also go over specifically the way that the deck plays. So we're gonna go ahead and just do like a couple test hands, kind of show you guys the ins and outs of the deck. So one of the main things that makes this deck super good is that you actually have an additional way to actually play the deck. And what I mean by that is that previously Gladiator Beasts, they lived off of their first summon. If their first summon didn't go through, it was a GG, right? Unless you play like the normal vanilla variant of it. You pretty much just lived off of your summon, you go test Tiger, it was game over. They didn't really have insane plays turn unless you do some crazy mix-up. But now you have basically two really good openers. So your best openers in the deck are 100% Test Bear, and then also the Magister. So Magister plus any GB equals combo. Test Bear alone, it pretty much equals a combo on its own. I mean, one thing that I think is so OP with Test Bear is just being able to have this as your normal summon. And again, if your opponent has a hand trap, you can actually play out of 1. Playing out of 2 is relatively difficult in the deck, but let's go ahead and say we're going to go return that Bestiary over here, and then we are going to summon doubles. Now, the cool thing with this archetype is that Artorix is one of the best cards in the entire game for it. This card is so incredibly good because it's not like a hard once per turn. So in this instance, we can go for like double, and I think this card is one of the best cards in the entire deck because it allows you to straight up go for this is just so good because it just lets you go into the fusion. So what we're going to do is we have the ability to dump them into the graveyard. Now, I drew my other Augustus, but I can dump an Augustus, and then we can activate the other one. This is why this card is so good. It's not a hard once per turn. Now, if I really wanted to go for another card, I could go for, let's say I really wanted like a quest to search out another card, but a lot of this stuff has to be special summon with GB. It doesn't work with some of like the newer like Monster Reborn cards that they have. But there's a few other plays that you can do that I did want to go over for the deck. So, first off, we are sending 2 cards. I only play 1 copy of this card. It kind of sucks, but it's the only other higher level one, unless you want to run like Octavius. But so these count as the monster's name, which is actually pretty important. There was like another one that copies Bestiary for some reason, but we don't need that one. So what we can make with this, we actually have a couple different options. Tamer Editor is actually the card that I think is one of the best. So you have a lot of options with this if you happen to have Test Bear and Magister. But since we have this, we can go ahead and, let's say, bait out one of their hand traps. If they more likely would have stopped Test Bear, but let's say like we go for this and they stop it, we can still go for more plays. So Tamer Editor is excellent. Now, one thing to take note with the newer card Claudius is Claudius does not have the ability of getting double battle phases unless you summon him by using 5 Gladiator Beast monsters, which is actually, it seems like it's hefty, but you can cycle through the cards relatively quick in this. But you can also just go for, let's say, a Heraclinos and you'd be good to go, but I want to actually open up with this one over here. Another important thing is do not go for an Dotbot. The reason why is it requires Augustus and 2 Gladiator Beast monsters, and it must be first special summoned by sending the above cards. If summoned this way, you get to you can special summon another 7 or lower. So make sure that you read that because I didn't know that, and I was just like, wait, my cards don't work over here. But 9 times out of 10, your turn 1 play is going for a Claudius. Now, Claudius will then let you go into the other fusion, which is going to be the Dominus. But since we happen to have Magister over here, we can activate his effect. His effect lets me just go reveal another Glad Beast. If I had another Glad Beast, I'd be able to special summon it, and I will get the effect of the Gladiator Beast. So if that was like Rediari or whatever, I'd get the bonus. This card also does search out another card. So the card that you usually want to go out with this one is going to be a Flavis, the Arena of the Gladiator Beast, which lets us discard to special summon lets us search out another card. You can discard 1 card to add a Gladiator Beast monster from your deck to your hand. This one over here also lets you special summon another one. And there's so many other cards that will let you bring back another card. So we're just going to go for this one for now. There's, again, so many plays with this deck. So we're going to activate this. We're usually using it for the secondary effect where you get to set a Gladiator Beast as long as we utilize one of the effects of special summoning from the deck, which is pretty easy in Gladiator Beast. Once you just tag out, you get to go for it. Now we have a couple other options here. Now this card's already used its effect, right? So he doesn't really have any good use for us at this moment. In fact, I wouldn't actually mind playing multiples of it, but it's kind of tight on room here. Now this is another one of the newer cards. This one is 2 monsters, including a Gladiator Beast monster, and if it's Link Summon, you get to special summon a level 4 or lower Gladiator Beast monster from your hand or graveyard. And then if your opponent controls a monster, so if you do go second, you're just supposed to summon a Gladiator Beast from your deck instead. That's a really good effect. But what we're going to go for actually first over here is going to be Test Panther. So Test Panther, the reason why I'm going to go for this card is once it's Link Summon, you get to add a Gladiator Beast card from your deck to your hand, and then target a Gladiator Beast monster you control, and then you shuffle it, and then you get to special summon another one from your deck. So we're going to go ahead and go for Test Panther, just so I can show you guys kind of like the ins and outs and the bread and butter of this deck. I'm going to keep Augustus over here because he has a little bit more utility, and don't worry that we're using Tamer because we're going to go ahead and activate his effect. So he's able to search out another card. So if I really wanted to extend my combos over here, we could go and go for the Gladiator Beast comeback, which actually lets us special summon a Gladiator Beast from our hand or graveyard. Now there is a effect over here where it has to be a different type from what we have. So keep that in mind as well. Now we can also activate this effect to summon another card, but if I was to search just any GB also, if I was to go for another Augustus, I can do that. But let's say that we're going to go ahead and use his effect, the Test Panther. We're going to go ahead and get rid of this card, and then we can go summon another card. Now keep in mind that the card that Darius brings back over here, it does negate the effect, but we can maybe use it as another source of material if we happen to have some sort of requirements or whatever. That could be another option. But one of the best cards to go for a lot of times, if you're like, I don't know what to go for, I can't like utilize the effect, I feel like Radiari has been kind of outclassed, but you can always go for Equest. Equest can actually go for comeback, and then you can re-add back cards, or you go for Respite. There's a lot of plays with it. But one thing that I always like going for is this, because it copies the level as well, which is actually a pretty good ability. So this one over here is a Beast Warrior. Sometimes you gotta double check on what you're actually making here, but remember we're gonna get another card anyways. So over here we can send another card to the graveyard, which is awesome. So let's say we want to go ahead and have another level 8. A lot of times it's just Augustus. You just keep on dumping that thing because it counts as a level 8, which is pretty useful for the requirements. This one also does require Augustus plus 2 GB monsters. So we can actually go for the Gladiator Beast Darius here, which will, if this card is Link Summon, you get a special summon a level 4 lower Gladiator from your hand or graveyard, and we just go for the same card again, and then we will be able to dump, because we're trying to make multiple Claudius. That's your main goal in this archetype right now. So this one over here, since we have right now, we have a Beast and we have Beast Warrior. That's something that you got to pay attention. The main one that you want to like utilize is going for Tamer Editor, because he's a Beast Warrior. So in this circumstance over here, we would want to try to go for that card. But right now, we're going to try to make another Claudius, but we're going to summon him the other way. And the other way, because remember, we basically got him out from the other fusion. This fusion brings out this fusion. This fusion will bring out this fusion. But this card over here, which is also going to be a Beast Warrior. So it may cause some problems, so you may want to go into Little Knight, or you can go in Cross Sheep sometimes. That's a really good thing to go ahead and actually go for. But you have to pay attention to like what you want to actually make. But we could just literally use that to make another Atorix. So what we can do is we can go into, since we already used Test Panther, by the way, this effect as, what is it says? You can only use each effect once per turn, but we haven't went through Darius. Or we could go for Little Knight, doesn't really matter, but let's say we wanted to go for this, right? And like I said, right now we're just trying to dump cards into the graveyard. Sometimes Glad Beast turns, they can take forever. And remember, this is special summoned by GB, and this is why this card, Atorix, is just like, he's like the best card. And then we can dump something else if we want to. Right now, there's not really anything I really need, but let's say we want to dump Bestiary for future plays, because this is like kind of like a normal for like Glad Beast, right? And then we can also activate Comeback, and if I want to go into Kaizaras, we can go ahead and do that, because we don't have a Winged Beast. This is something to pay attention to. It's very important. But right now, in this situation, like I really like turn 1 Little Knight, and remember, I cannot have a Beast Warrior, and both these are Beast Warrior, which could be definitely a problem. But on top of that, there's another bonus effect. Now, I don't know what my opponent is playing, right? So if I was to use this effect over here, there's another bonus effect where Gladiator Beast monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects during your opponent's battle phase. Now, unfortunately, that effect isn't really that great. Sometimes it does come up, but the cool thing with Claudius over here is he's going to bring out another monster, and then that's during my opponent's turn. If it's my turn, and it's once per turn if my opponent activates a monster effect. So if they activate a monster effect, I'm going to be able to, if it's my turn, I get to special summon a Gladiator Beast from my deck, which is going to get the Gladiator Beast effect. If it's my opponent's turn, I get to summon a level 11 or lower Gladiator Beast monster from my extra deck, ignoring its summon conditions. But in this circumstance over here, you can either go for a Cross Sheep, which will then let you bring back another card, but it doesn't count as a GB, just as a heads up. Originally, that's what my thought process was, but Little Knight is like way better. So I would 100% recommend that. And then we can go for the effect of Little Knight instantly. No, it goes. But we can activate Comeback again. Remember, this card is technically searchable. And then I can go right into Tamer. I thought this was super OP because I don't know why, I just thought like it was going to negate the effects. Keep in mind, there's another bonus over here. The monster you control can't be destroyed by battle as well. So now I can set up my Tamer in defense mode over here. It doesn't have bad stats. I can go for this effect again, and then I'm going to get another Claudius. Claudius, super OP. And then, remember, I activated the effects at some point to tag out. So now I actually have a pretty good plan. Like, I'm trying to show you guys how to play the deck. Obviously, we could make this card the proper way, too. If I was to play 3, I can go for another Claudius turn 1. Although my board is pretty clogged up right now, this card lets me have extra room. I thought about playing 3 Claudiuses, to be honest. It is pretty excessive, but a lot of times it'll tag out. To be honest, I would say you could probably drop Cross Sheep. I really like having double Gyzarus. I was even thinking about dropping this or Heraclinos, because a lot of times the way that the deck wants you to play is like spam the board as hard as possible, right? But I want to show you guys some like easy bread and butter combos that are a little bit more consistent here, not like super god tier 1 where they open up like chariots and stuff. But if I was to maybe activate Respite, I could maybe draw into it. But we're going to go ahead and actually end our turn, and it's going to let us actually set a War Chariot. What it does, it lets you set any Gladiator trap. War Chariot is like the only good one, to be honest. So let's go ahead and set like a War Chariot. So what do we have up on the board? And we also have Dark Ruler no more if anything goes wrong. So let's say my opponent goes and they go, I want to normal summon this card, and then I'm going to go ahead and activate this card. So whatever their very first card that they activate, you want to make sure that you say yes to double Claudius's. We're not going to negate it. The card has to resolve to actually use the brand new Claudius card, just as a heads up. So let's say he goes and summons Equest. I'm just going to select a bunch of nothings because I don't want to have to like keep on saying if I want to negate the card effect or not. So my opponent activates whatever card, right? And then he can activate the effect of those cards, and he can search out the card. I'm just going to say like, yeah, sure, whatever. He's going to go for that. And then we are going to say yes. They have to be able to actually activate and resolve the effect in order for you to get the effect of Claudius. Okay, that's very important. I can negate my own Claudius if I want to, but I'm not interested in that. So keep in mind, that does work. So now I'm going to special summon 2 monsters from my extra deck. Now, if I'm really afraid of like some sort of like spell and trap, I would go for Heraclinos, but I only have 1 card to stop a spell and trap. In this situation, it might be okay to go for 1 Dominus, 1 Heraclinos, or if like I know what he's going to make, I can go into Gyzarus and just pop those 2 targets instantly, and then he has nothing. Don't go for this though. Okay, but most of the time it ends up being double Dom, is what I usually go for, because like no fear of dark holes, right? But let's say we go for, I mean, Heraclinos actually really isn't bad, but this card is really good. This is Gladiator Beast Dominus. So what it does is it's a quick effect where I get to negate. If my opponent activates a monster effect as a quick effect, I get to negate. But I honestly think that going for Heraclinos in this position, since I do have a card, it's totally fine. If I didn't have a card, then obviously, yeah, I wouldn't go for it. But Heraclinos, just in case he has some sort of spell that would just ruin my day, we're going to go ahead and make this guy. And then this card actually has a negation. And then we also get to set whatever. It doesn't really matter. Here, let's just go select that. Just to send one. Okay, so obviously it's my opponent's turn, but at this point, we're pretty much good to go. I don't really have to worry about too much because I would have 1 negate here. This is a negate, and this is a negate. And if I open up a Chariot, I'd have another gate. And then I guess this you could kind of consider like a negation. So on average, it's like 3 to 4. If you open up good, you can do 5. But I don't really see the deck pushing 6 negates very consistently. And that's not all. Like, it's not just this, because we still have Dark Ruler. Well, we have another card, right? But this card over here is actually another bonus to the deck. So it has another effect over here. I'm sure my face is blocking it. But during the end phase, if a Gladiator Beast monster was special summoned, we get that effect, right? And it's just during the end phase, not yours. So let's say I somehow tagged out, I would be able to activate this effect again. But what is also really cool is that when an opponent's monster declares an attack, I get to special summon a Gladiator Beast monster from my deck, and it cannot be destroyed by battle. Now, more likely though, they'd probably get rid of this card, but sometimes earlier on when a card first gets announced, people don't read, you know how it is. So this card actually has another bonus effect, but let's say he just ends turn, whatever, go to our turn, it's pretty much GG's at this point. And on top of that, if I was to, let's say, tag out or whatever, I just get rid of my own cards. I actually, at this point, I can't really do anything because, well, we're kind of blocked on monsters here. But let's say we were to go ahead and, well, at this point, I need to, like, tag out. So I either need to like negate my own effect or whatever. Let's see, what can we do? I mean, at this point, like, it's pretty much game. But I wanted to mention that, like, you can special summon Claudius. It's just to banish 5. I mean, we already have, look, we have 1, 2, 3. Remember, Test Panther won't count. 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, at this point, we could summon 2 more. Let's say he bounces 1 back, we could go for another Claudius. I just wanted to mention that, like, yeah, you can go for more stuff because it's from the field and or graveyard. So, like, let's say one gets, like, wrecked by some sort of effect that permanently negates, I don't know, Fiendish Chain or something that is, like, permanently negating the effect. I can go ahead and just go into another one, and then we're going to be good. So, yeah, I would say you can pump up the copies of this, but I usually feel like majority of games are pretty much won. Maybe Cross Sheep could be something we consider, but I wanted to go ahead and show you guys, like, how to play the deck because usually that's tied to, like, the deck profile. Usually I upload like gameplay and deck profile, but I'm gonna try this and let me know, guys, if you like this more, because I know some people want to learn the deck, and usually that's with the deck profile, right? So just mousing over the cards and going over this, we got Augustus. I like the card a lot. Noxious is just another like higher level, and if you happen to have it, like you need to kind of survive for a turn. I just wish that it lets you add a Gladiator Beast, not 4 or lower. That's one thing that really sucks with this card. But this card is too important. This card runs the deck. This and Test Bear are absolutely like super good. I wish this was Gladiator Beast Test Bear. If it was Gladiator Beast Test Bear, the deck would probably be like god tier, to be honest. It would make the deck so much more consistent. And even if you have like Test Bear plus this like turn 1, that's what you want to open up with. But if not, you can just normal summon your GB and then go for Test Tiger. And that's, I mean, if you have Test Bear or Magister, but if you open up Test Bear, Magister, and Test Tiger, that's excellent. Keep in mind though, like I know some people like, do that, you're asking for a lot. You have triple of these to search out, you know, what you can always search this, right? You can't search out Test Tiger or Test Bear. You can Respite into it. I was thinking about running triple Respite. You can also Reasoning, maybe get lucky and hit one of them. But anyways, 2 Augustus, 1 Noxious, 2 Darius. I feel like this is one of the more important ones in the deck, but if you wanted to drop this Respite, that's fine. But Darius can bring back the bigger ones. So what I like with Darius is Darius can bring back any of them, and then you have instant access to one of them requires a 5 or higher. So I kind of like it for that, and specifically it's usually utilized for Darius to bring back Bestiari, and then you just go into Geysaris. It's like a kind of like a 2 card, usually is like with Test Tiger or something else brings out Darius, then you go Geysaris, then you pop double, and then you just swing, and then you get to tag out, and it's usually game at that point. But Test Bear, yeah, maxing out on that. You can maybe max out on Autorix just in case you draw one, then you can't Test Bear into double. It's okay though. But I think you could play 3 of those. Magistrate is 100% you gotta play 3. Radiar is pretty outdated. Murmillo definitely comes in once in a while, so I like that card, Test Tiger. I just feel like turn 1 Radiar is almost useless. And then like even nowadays, like people dump too many things in the graveyard, like 10 things in the graveyard. Like how am I gonna get any advantage with banishing 1? Like back in the day when like Glads were actually good, like this was really good. And then I didn't really have that many room for like I wanted to stack up on hand traps, but like then I don't have access to my combos, and I'll also talk about this card too. But Baylor, Ash, I think they're like good, and then like I just want like 1 of each. Maybe throwing Called by the Grave could be good too, because this deck honestly loses to hand traps pretty dang hard. But also Gladiator Beast Comeback, which just special summons another GB, and it can't be destroyed by battle. So it's like you summon, it gets like negated, destroyed. You can activate this and summon it again, and then just crash and then it doesn't die, and then you go bring back the card. And then Triple Proving Ground, because this card's amazing. And then I just threw in a Reasoning. Honestly, you run it if you want. Respite, I like it, because like too many GBs in your hand is a bad hand. But then the problem is that a lot of these cards, this is just Gladiator rejection, not Gladiator Beast cards. Like, I don't know why they legitimately like screwed over that card so hard. Like, there's just so many cards that just say Gladiator, but it's not a Gladiator Beast. But yeah, this card is actually pretty cool because it can kind of help out with the hand traps. So it, depending on which one it is. So your opponent can't target Glad Beast with card effects except during the battle phase, which, yeah, it's pretty good. And then if a Glad Beast monster is special summoned from the main deck, except during the damage step, you get to special summon one Glad Beast monster from the deck with a different type than the monsters you control in defense position. So unfortunately, it's not going to be able to tag out. But being able to get another GB, it's usually utilized for Bestiaria. The one thing that sucks with a lot of these cards in general is like it's not special summoned by a Gladiator Beast, so it doesn't get the bonus. And then I already went over the field spell, and then War Chariot is War Chariot. For the extra deck, we are playing 2 Claudiuses, 2 Doms, 1 Herc, 1 Tamer Editor. This one is one of my favorites. This one, there was a couple times where it came up, but a lot of times, I would say, I don't know. I really do like double the Geysaros. I was thinking about this card could be dropped potentially as well. You know, you could probably play 3 Claude if you wanted to, but I just like these because these are openers, and if these get negated, if you can survive the next turn, it really helps out to kind of have another one, because I usually go for both of them like in the next turn. And then we have Little Knight and then Cross Sheep. These are other cards I was considering running like even Super Poly at some point, but there's no room in the extra deck for GBs. Secutor was a card that was like a super win harder card. I was thinking about running 2 quests, but usually the game's over if you really need another quest. But sometimes if you draw it and you really want to go for the combo, it sucks. That's one thing that also kind of sucks just in general with Glad Beast. Like, sometimes, like, I really wanted that Equest to special summon the Equest so I can go ahead and search out, basically, this to extend my combo, or Respite so I can draw into, well, hope to draw into one other War Chariot, or add back a War Chariot, because remember, whatever card that you discard, you can just add back with Equest anyways. So, that's kind of the deck profile, at least as of right now. If there's any suggestions, let me know down below, as I really do like Gladiator Beast, but I don't think it's one of like these super Omega S tier decks. It is very fragile to 2 hand traps. 2 hand traps is relatively rough to play out of. Is it possible? Yes, but 3 is pretty much locking the nail on the coffin, man. You have, basically, your options are Test Bear for like 1 card, you know, that does use it in your normal summon, and then you also have the Magister as like your backup if anything goes wrong. But let's say if they do destroy it, you could use Comeback and then have Test Tiger. But that's very rare. So like at 3 hand traps, the deck's doing nothing, man. If there's 3 negates, you ain't winning. I'm just gonna keep it real with you guys. It cannot play out of a 3 negate unless, of course, you have Lightning Storm and you have Dark Ruler. I was even considering just maxing out Lightning Storm Regekis just to go pop the board. Like, if you get rid of the monsters, it's pretty easy, but you know, that's because it's GBs and you can attack, then you establish board control. I was actually thinking about just tripling out on Dark Ruler, because if I'm able to play uncontested with this deck, oh man, you can just go Geysaros two times and just you're winning the game. So that could be something to consider, but like sometimes turn 1, like your opponent pops off. I mean, if you have Dark Ruler, usually it shouldn't matter. But yeah, I'm just mentioning that. Anyways, let's go wrap things up. Let me know your thoughts on GBs if you played them, and if you guys want to see gameplay, I just dropped it yesterday. But yeah, we're going to be testing out some of the other stuff. I might check out more mails next. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, subscribe, turn the bell if you want to see some more content. Anyways, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.